there, it's Kevin with RogueDeckBuilder.com here with my picks for the Rogue Master Brewer. If you may know, we've had a competition going on for the past couple months called the Rogue Master Brewer, and this one had a focal point with Eldritch Moon. So what we put out to the community is they could brew a deck using at least 3 to 4 cards being the focal point from Eldritch Moon and build a deck either in any format, Legacy, Pauper, Commander, Standard, whatever it was. Build a deck showcasing those cards, and we will have a small little tournament to crown the Rogue Master Brewer. Now, we've done this in the past. In fact, the winner of this is going to get an exclusive playmat that you see right here. We're going to put this in playmat form, probably put their name on the playmat, and just do a little more perks to that. So, anywho, we're going to continue to do this for other sets coming out like Kaladesh, and after that, probably for the other expansion set, the Eighth Revolt. So, if you missed this tournament, just be looking for the next ones. This can be an ongoing thing. Now, I do apologize for not getting around to getting this done through August. We've had a lot of things come up, and sickness and other stuff that has really kind of made it impossible to get the deadline done. So I'm finally getting to my picks. Greg and Wally have already done their picks, so you can go to RogueDeckBuilder.com and check out their picks. As soon as I do my top 2 picks and Zach does his top 2 picks, we're going to combine them all into a top 8 and give it over to the community to vote for their favorite deck to be crowned as the Rogue Master Brewer. So alrighty, so I hope that you would go and give these people a shout out. They've put in a lot of work here. Most of these decks, of course, won't make the top 8 deck, but I appreciate all the submissions. So check out RogueDeckBuilder.com and you can scroll through these deck lists. Alright, so on to my first pick is a deck here by Jeff Roberts called Mind Twist with a Twist. Now, I really like this deck because the focal point is Lupine Prototype. And so, of course, Lupine Prototype is naturally going to go in a discard deck because you do want to be attacking in with the Prototype. So let's just load it up here on MTGO. So this is a modern deck, and it is trying to exploit the Eldrazi Temple. As you can see, though, most of these cards are standard legal. I'm pretty sure that you can instead of like Thoughtseize, go into like Collective Brutality, and then you still have Matter Shapers, Rally Smashers, Thought-Knot, Elder Deep Fiends, Distended Mindbenders. I believe Tormented Voice is still in Origins for the time being, and then the Prototype is also good to go here. So, but how this deck gets a lot more of a power level is just by being able to exploit the Eldrazi Temple, because the Eldrazi Temple works to accelerate all of your Eldrazi cards. So basically the mana base is just going to have the temples, ghost quarters, some islands, an Nephalia Academy, which is a little bit of protection versus other people's discard type abilities, where you can put it at least back in your library. We have the Sanctum of Ugins, which is another card that can be exploited once you do get up to the Elder Deep Fiends. You can just chain them off. Swarmyard's a really, really cool inclusion in here because at first I looked at this and I'm like, why is this in here? But the Distended Mindbender is an insect, so you can actually regenerate it with Swarmyard, and it is going to add for that colorless mana, which is really, really good for this deck. Then we have an Underground River, some Urborg Tomb Yawgmoths, and some Watery Graves. So onto the discard, you're really going to rely on Distended Mindbender, Thought-Knot Seer, Tormented Thoughts, and Thoughtseize. Has a lot of other cool interactions because the Matter Shaper is just really, really awesome to eat with like an Elder Deep Fiend or a Distended Mindbender. And then it also is a decent little curve too into these, like even a turn 2 Matter Shaper into a turn 3 Tormented Void or Tormented Thoughts. They're discarding 3 cards, and then Thought-Knot Seer kind of finishing that off on turn number 3. Of course, this is all around Eldrazi Temple. What I think I would have liked to see in this deck, though, was probably an Eldrazi Mimic. I think it would have given a little more punch to the Lupine Prototype. What I like to look for in decks is multiple synergies, and I don't think that Lupine Prototype really synergizes with many of these other cards except for just the discard route. Now, what would have been really cool is with the Eldrazi Mimic is then Lupine Prototype, if you can go first turn Eldrazi Mimic off into Eldrazi Temple, and then second turn Lupine Prototype, mimicking the Prototype and swinging in for 5. Then later on, like the Eldrazi Mimic would have a lot of synergy with the Thought-Knot Seers, the Reality Smashers, and all of these even Distended Mindbenders and Elder Deep Fiends. So even though it wasn't included, I still think this deck, that's why I love these user-submitted decks though, is they start getting the gears turning, and then I usually will take these decks and try to edit them a little bit, maybe go a different type of route, and hopefully have a lot of success with him. So this is a deck you'd like to see played. I probably just do need a few cards. I think this one's actually pretty good to go. Don't really need any donations for this one, as I do have the prototype, so they're nothing. And the rest of the cards are quite easy to pick up. The sideboard card, we have Surgical Extraction, Inquisition of Kozilek's, Mana Leaks, Echoing Truce, Damnation, and some Dismembers. So just your usual suspects for control. So just again, it's just this old school Eldrazi Disruption type style. Just trying to cheat out those Reality Smashers, Thought-Knot Seers, and whatnot. So I'm going to try to play some versions of this deck. Maybe I'll edit it, tweak it around a little bit, and we should have some fun in Modern with it. Very, very interesting idea. Love it. Shout out to Jeff for creating this deck. The second one that I picked for my top two is by Bart, which is Jund Devolution, or Delvolution. This is another Modern deck that is focused around Eldritch Evolution, but instead of just like the Angel Evolution decks or some other decks that are trying to cheat out just two-piece combos with Eldritch Evolution just acting as a toolbox card, this one's actually going to be the main combo of this deck. So it's going to try to get out an Elesh Norn, a Gristlebrand, or a Terastodon. So let's go ahead and pull this list up. Let me find it here for the Rogue Master Brewer Jund Devolution. So, we'll sort by converted mana cost. This is going to run 19 lands. You're going to try to be able to hit just lands off your Faithless Lootings and your Insolent Neonauts and your Tormenting Voices. Are all going to try to get other cards in your graveyard, like just any other excess lands, and then you're going to delve them away for Tasigur, Hooting Mandrills, or the Angler. So Angler, especially because Angler can actually get Iona in the sideboard. It's the only one that can get Iona because Iona is a 9-drop and Angler is a 7-drop. So the Eldritch Evolution can be cheated out incredibly quick. I kind of think I'd like to run blue in this deck just because of Thought Scour and Gitaxian Probe. Add just like even more of a punch to get cards in the graveyard. But we're probably going to do some pretty decent self-milling to be able to get these delve cards out. And there's also some cool other synergies with it. If there's Goryo's Vengeance in this deck, as is if you do have a first turn Gristlebrand, you can still do the second turn Goryo's Vengeance, and then fill back up your hand, gain some life, and be good to go. Even if you go to discard, that just puts a ton of ammo in for a delve, and then an Eldritch Evolution the following turn. So Tasigur is also pretty good in this deck. It's a 6, so the 6... Tasigur can be eaten up, Hooting Mandrills can be eaten up, the Anglers can be eaten up. To go shoot up the Elesh Norn, there's not a ton of decks that can actually survive an Elesh Norn. There's plenty of them that it just completely wins the game because it survives Bolt, Abrupt Decay, dies the Path to Exile, but that's about it. I think that this deck can also explore some other 7s and 8s and even 6 drops to try to combat some of these other kind of one-trick pony type decks. They can be shut down with just a specific hate card. So there's a lot going on for this deck. I also like the ability that if you just get an early Tasigur, you can then Goryo's Vengeance it back and Eldritch Evolution it on turn 5. Just sort of like a quicker Elesh Norn or Gristlebrand or Terastodon. So Terastodon's good against like the non-interactive decks. Gristlebrand's can just shut down any sort of damage-based deck, and Elesh Norn can also shut down any creature-based deck. So after a while, too, you can just go the old school just delve route, get out a quick Angler or Tasigur, and a lot of times those can just take out the game. The sideboard is just some control through Ancient Grudds, Abrupt Decays, Thought Seizes, Inquisitions, some Scavenging Oozes, and again, the Iona is really good about shutting down just single-color decks, but I got to give a caution to Iona because, again, Angler is the only one that can actually tutor it out, it being a 9-drop and these only being 6, and Eldritch Evolution only adding the 2 mana to it. So again, really, really creative decks. I think that this deck has a lot of tweaking, or again, I really like blue for this deck. So if you would like to see this deck in action, though, I think that the cards that I'll need donated if I do play this are going to be Gristlebrand, Elesh Norn, and the Goryo's Vengeance. So again, I'd love to do this on Twitch stream for Sunday, but if we can get those donations, I'll play it. It's just, right now it's just a weird time with Kaladesh coming out. I know I'm going to have to start setting aside some money to buy a lot of the new Kaladesh cards. And it's just, I just don't have the means right now to be like really going into expensive cards like Gristlebrand and Elesh Norn. So, again, I appreciate all the support. We'll have Zach's picks later on today, and then we'll combine them all into a top 8 and then send it back over to the community to vote and crown this month's, or I guess this set's, Eldritch Moon's Rogue Master Brewer. Anyway, this has been Kevin with RogueDeckBuilder.com. Thanks for watching.